When asking the tarot about love, what cards do you secretly hope come up? Hi there, and welcome to Beyond the Shuffle, a podcast where we explore this wild ride of the human experience through the lens of tarot. I'm Adrienne Amari, your host, guide, and lover of love readings. So settle in, open your mind, and let's go beyond the shuffle. It's Valentine's week, so I had to be that cheesy person and make this week's episode all about tarot and love. Now, realistically, any of the tarot cards can be interpreted through the lens of love because they can all come up for different elements of love and relationships, whether that's romantic or platonic. But I think it's safe to say the one card that people always look for in a love reading is the Lovers. And it's funny because this isn't my favorite card for love in the tarot. And I get why people see it and think, yes, this is the ultimate love card, because we do see Adam and Eve standing with vulnerability in the garden with the divinity of the angel above them. But if we really look at the Lovers, it's about more than just love. And I don't want to say more than just love to diminish love, because I think it's one of the most important energies that we have. But the Lovers card is so often about the duality of choice. And one of the ways I love to read it recently is to remember that you get to choose how much access and energy you give to other people. In the Hierophant, which precedes the Lovers, we learn about conventional wisdom, about how to exist in a society, about rules and structures and institutions that we need to follow to be part of a larger group. And in the Lovers, we're challenging a lot of that. We're learning how to choose what's right for us, what's genuine for us, and what's authentic to us. We're examining those beliefs for ones that fit better. We're learning how to be vulnerable with another person and to open ourselves up in that kind of relationship. Because the person that we are in society is generally not the same person we are when we're in an intimate connection with somebody else. And I think the part of the love equation that comes into the Lovers is having that connection where we are vulnerable, when we are ourselves, and how do we take off that mask and be part of that type of relationship. But it's also the reminder that we have to choose to do that. We have to choose our belief systems. We have to choose the people that we really want to have in our lives. And, there are certain limitations to that. You can't choose certain people that are around you. But again, we do get to choose how much we give to other people. And the Lovers really expresses that aspect of connection. So again, I don't think it's a bad omen or anything like that for love and relationships. It's still great when it shows up. But my favorite card for love in the tarot is actually the Two of Cups. To me, the Two of Cups just screams love and unity and connection. It's that outpouring of emotion, that being able to be open, honest, to communicate with one another. And I think the reason why I really like the Two of Cups more than the Lovers for that ultimate love card is because the Lovers has so much going on. It's a major arcana. It has a lot of lessons tied into it. And the Two of Cups to me just seems more simple in a beautiful way, where it's like all there is this moment and the love that we share between us at this point in time. It's that relationship where if you can only give 30 today, your partner is willing to make up the extra 70. And this doesn't have to be purely romantic. All of these can be romantic love or the friendships that we make with people in our lives that mean so much to us. And the other card for love that I love is the Ten of Cups, because it's that happy rainbow, right? We have the couple, we have the two kids, there's the rainbow in the sky. It's a card of harmony, of success, of a sense of completion, of knowing that you have that love and support from whether it's one person or many people in your life. It's showing that you've worked through the ups and downs, the emotional ebbs and flows of a relationship to make something that is stable and solid. And isn't it nice feeling that your relationship can navigate those ups and downs of life? Because realistically, if you look at the Lovers and where it is in the journey of the major arcana, we're still kind of figuring out who we are and how we exist in this world. But in the Ten of Cups, we already have a sense of that, and we know who we are in this relationship. And I think that's a big part of the lesson of the Lovers. Who are you in your relationship? Now, I could talk about different tarot cards with the lens of love all day long, but that's not what this episode is about. If that is something you're interested in, though, make sure you head on over to adrianamari.com and check out my blog, because last year for Valentine's Day, I wrote The Tarot Cards in Love, which takes a look at a whole bunch of different cards and how you can interpret them in love readings. Now, just judging by the discourse online, it seems to me like there are two reasonably distinct camps. People who like or love readings and people who don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole. And there's no judgment either way, because if you don't like doing a type of reading, it doesn't make sense to shoehorn or force yourself into that position. And let's be real, it's not helpful to force yourself to do certain types of readings if you don't enjoy them, because you're not going to get a great reading out of it due to the fact that on the lowest level, you're just not liking what you do. I think when you're doing love readings, it's really important to empower people and remind them that they have agency in these situations. A lot of people will go to readers asking, what do they think about me? How do they feel about me? Are they coming back? Do they actually love me? And all those types of questions. And I'm not here to poo-poo on any other reader's style, but when we are doing these types of readings, whether you're pulling for yourself or going to a reader, you're basically trying to read someone else's thoughts and feelings. And that's a really dangerous and slippery slope. Because if someone were doing that to me, I'd be really irritated. I'd change my mind, my thoughts, my feelings all the time. And who knows what energy you're tapping into at the time that you do it. So you might do a reading and get an outcome or an interpretation that really isn't in alignment with how the person is feeling overall. So I don't think it's a useful way to approach love and relationship readings with how do they feel or what do they think. If you can't have that conversation with them, that's a problem in the relationship, and maybe that is something we should be looking into. So when I do love and relationship readings, I like to look at the energy of the relationship. Maybe what the strengths are, what the obstacles or the weaknesses are. If someone is looking for love, what is getting in their way from finding that right person? Most importantly, how can we navigate all of this? Because that's really the important part. How do we navigate these relationships in our lives in a way that is authentic to us, right for us, good for us, and still healthy? And let me tell you, I have had my fair share of unhealthy relationships come through the door, and it's always a difficult conversation, but people are generally coming when they already know that there is a crack there, and they're either looking to find out if it's worth fixing. And I really don't believe it's a hard yes or no answer. Like, I've had a lot of will we get back together type of readings, and a lot of the time it's like, look, yes, you can get back together, there's a potential there, but it's going to repeat the same patterns unless you do something to break it. Or you could totally get back together, but it's going to be a lot of work. Is that what you want for yourself? Or sometimes it's like, you know what? It doesn't look great. Maybe you should work on yourself or spend time really reconnecting with yourself and then see how things play out. And that's why I think we always have to be a little bit careful when we're doing love readings, because people place so much emotion and energy into their love life. And there's nothing wrong with that, because love is beautiful. But let's be honest, a lot of times people come for a reading when it has to do with love when things aren't going well, when they don't feel confident in their relationship, when they're waiting for the other shoe to drop, when they think they're never going to find the right person. So I'm not saying sugarcoat or lie or give false hope, but just handle them with a bit of gentleness and grace. I've also found through readings that sometimes people will tolerate a lot just because they believe someone is their twin flame. I don't even really know where I stand on the whole twin flame thing. The way it's presented in modern day new age stuff, it is not my jam. And if you ever watch those documentaries on Netflix or Prime about them, you'll probably feel similarly to what I do, because it can be a way for people to excuse bad behavior or to take advantage of someone who just wants to find someone to love and spend their life with. And I'm not saying that's true in all cases, but it's true in many of the cases I have seen. So I was reading cards at a market once, and I had this girl come in with a guy in tow, and the first thing she says when she sits down is that they're twin flames. And she goes on to explain that they've been in this relationship, it's been tumultuous, they have a child together, and she's not happy in the relationship, but they're twin flames, so I guess she's sticking it out or something. And I honestly forget the question that she asked about the relationship. But at one point I said point blank to her, "Do you want to be in this relationship?" And she looked at me and said no. So I asked her, "Why are you still in this relationship then?" And she told me, again, because he's her twin flame. Now, how dangerous is that? And as we're doing the reading, the cards were saying that he was quite possessive, quite jealous, and he's verifying this as we're doing the reading. Well, yeah, I don't like it when you go out with your friends. And you're more social than me, so it bothers me when you're out and I'm just home by myself. And all of those kinds of things. So even without cards, you can see this is not a great relationship for these two people to be in. They are not a good match. And I can't remember what cards were pulled, but it basically was like, look, this is not a happy connection. Neither of you are happy doing this. If you want to make it work, it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of communication, a lot of honesty, and a lot of compromise. And that's how I always look at love readings. Look, if you want to make it work, this is what it's going to take. And then you decide if that's worth it for you. Because no one else can tell you that. And I understand why people, especially in new relationships, come for readings to kind of suss everything out, to know if it's worth their time. And honestly, I actually love these ones. They've always been so much fun. Most of them have generally been quite positive. And I think one kind of interesting or maybe useful aspect of getting a reading for a new relationship is looking at what can be worked on or what weaknesses there are in the relationship that you can bring to the forefront now and figure out. So again, I was reading at an event, and if you've attended any of my workshops, you may have heard this story before. But I had this couple sit down and they were so excited. Their relationship was still fresh, still new. They were excited to be in love and had recently moved in together, even though they admittedly said it was fast. They just kind of wanted to look into the relationship and see the potential and everything of it. So we're doing the reading, and in a challenge position, the Queen of Swords reversed came up. Now, court cards can be a little bit tricky in relationship readings because is it one of the people in the relationship or is it somebody outside of the relationship? But as soon as that Queen of Swords reversed came up, I knew it was someone outside. And for me, it was pretty clear that it was probably a mother. So I'm always a little bit careful about how I say this, but I said it seems to be there's someone, maybe a mother or a mother figure, who has a lot to say about the relationship, and it's not always positive. And they said yes, it was his mom because she was their landlady, and there had been some disagreements as of late. And you could just tell in the reading that there was a little bit more to it than that. I got the sense that the girlfriend and the mom didn't really get along 100%. And from what I could tell with the cards and what I could feel, they were a good couple. They seemed to be good together and were in it together. And while we're talking, his phone rings. And he answers it because it's his mother calling. I exchanged a very knowing look with the girlfriend, and I don't know if they're still together today. I hope they are. But that's one I will never forget because that Queen of Swords literally called during the reading. And I think I should make it clear that people don't only come for love and relationship readings when they feel like their relationship is struggling. Sometimes they just want to check in and know everything is okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love a good check-in, and I love even more when it turns out to be great, when they get that 10 of Pentacles and they're in it to win it. That 4 of Wands, which shows that celebration and belonging. Even the 8 of Pentacles, showing that they're willing to work at the relationship and develop it over time. I love seeing our beautiful queens and kings show up for mature relationships that are nurturing and supportive. And when relationships are new, I love to see those aces in those pages with all that fresh energy. And if you're looking for love, those are great cards to get too. One card that I think is particularly interesting is the Eight of Wands. Now, the Eight of Wands is generally interpreted as things picking up pace, saying yes to new opportunities, change, swift movement, and in the pictorial guide to the tarot, Arthur Waite also labels it as arrows of love. And for some reason, that just makes me think of Cupid's arrows flying through the sky. Now, in the reversed position, it generally means things like delays or slowing down. But another meaning, again attributed to Arthur Waite, is arrows of jealousy. And especially in love readings, I think that's a really cool way of looking at that card. Now, when we're talking about love readings, people often ask before we start pulling cards if I've ever seen anything bad or difficult come up. And of course I have, because that is 100% part of the human experience. But it is honestly quite rare that someone has been completely blindsided by it. There's always an intuition, an inkling, and that's why people come to ask. Now, one thing that's kind of spread a lot online that I'm not sure where this came from is that the Three of Cups always means cheating. I see this all the time in different Facebook groups where if anybody posts a spread and wants help with it, if it's about relationships and there's a Three of Cups, there is going to be at least one, if not multiple comments saying, oh, they're cheating. Now, the Three of Cups is generally seen as a card of friendship, of celebration, of support, of friends coming together and just enjoying the uniqueness that each person brings. Now, when it comes to romantic relationships, if I see the Three of Cups upright, my first inclination is not going to be cheating unless it's paired with something like maybe the Seven of Swords. If it's coming up reversed, I can see the Three of Cups or even the Three of Pentacles being more about infidelity. But just because a 3 comes up, don't automatically jump to cheating without other indications from different cards. I feel like that's irresponsible and unethical. Part of the Three of Cups, even coming up reversed, could indicate that they are ignoring their friends because of this relationship, or the different friend groups don't like each other or see eye to eye. So I just want to dispel the idea that it always has to be cheating. And of course, there are cards that people generally don't want to see pop up in a reading. So for example, a lot of the times the Kings or the Knights, especially reversed, can indicate an abusive relationship. I'm not saying all the time, but it does give in to those tendencies. So for example, the King of Swords reversed is very domineering. He says really mean things, especially just to hurt you. The Knight of Wands, and again could be reversed or upright, can be a bit of a player. He's just there for a good time. The Three of Swords can be pain and betrayal and healing from that heartache. But sometimes that comes up when this is a healing relationship. So it's really important to look at the landscape of all the cards and see how they work together rather than just focusing on one point and saying, well, this is it. This is the crux of the relationship. The Tower, for example, shows me that this relationship has been built on faulty foundations, or there are cracks in the foundations. Does that mean it's not repairable? No, but it does mean that there will need to be shifts and changes and difficult conversations to rebuild. And that's always the question to me. It's not, is this relationship going to work? It's, do you want to put in the effort to make it work? And I think we have to really give in to the idea that it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, no, putting in this energy to this connection is just not worth it for me. There is no shame in saying or doing that. And I think sometimes the tarot is the perfect permission slip to be able to accept that and to move forward. Now, aside from people wanting to look into their current relationship, I do get a lot of readings for future love, and honestly, these are probably my favorite. I have one that still sticks with me though, and it always makes me kind of sad because this person came for a reading and she had determined that she was not ever going to meet anybody. She said she wanted to, but she had resigned to the fact that, in her words, she was going to become a cat lady. And when we did her reading, she pulled so many good cards that said, you know, there's someone out there for you. There is love available to you in your life. And she really didn't want to believe it. She wanted me to tell her that she would just be alone forever. And it was the most difficult reading I think I've ever had because I could see in the cards all this potential, but she just didn't want to open herself to receiving it. In a lot of finding love readings, the overwhelming messages seem to be heal from past relationships, don't go for the same thing that you keep going for, and don't do things for the purpose of finding love. Do them because you enjoy them. But in these finding love readings, we can look into what kind of person to look for, what kind of relationship would be good for you. And I just love seeing all the potential that's available there for us. And if looking into your current relationship, whether romantic or platonic, or wanting to bring more connection into your life is something that you're looking for, I am hosting 2 small group reading events on the 23rd and 25th of February. So I'm actually bringing Tea and Tarot back, but in a new rebranded way. This is Tea and Tarot, the Parlor, where every month I'll be hosting small group readings. These sessions will start with just a gentle meditation to relax, a collective reading, and then everyone in attendance gets a 15-minute read. While you're waiting your turn, there will be prompts that you can journal. The chat will be open if you want to connect with other people or just offer support to the person who's getting read for. I'm really excited to offer this because I think we're at a time where people feel so isolated even though we're so connected. So having people come for readings and have that sense of community, that sense of sharing, that sense of support, I'm hoping will be really uplifting, heartwarming, and beautiful. So you can find more information about that in the links below or on my website at adrianamari.com. Now, what would an episode of Beyond the Shuffle be without a collective reading? So for this week, I want to focus on the question, how can we foster more love in our lives? And I just mean love in general. Now, the deck that I'm using is the Baroque Tarot by Mustafa or Baroque Publishing. You can see photos of the cards pulled in the show notes, and I just felt this was a really beautiful deck for readings about love. So I have to share this because this is just wild, and I love when these kind of things happen with tarot. So as I was shuffling the deck, I noticed that the Strength card was upside down, like it was face up instead of face down like the rest of the cards. And I took it out, I flipped it over the same way as the rest, and I kept shuffling. But I was thinking, I think this Strength card is going to show up in the reading, like it should be there. Lo and behold, it is the middle card of our reading. And once again, the question is, how can we foster more love in our lives? And for that, we have the Ace of Coins, Strength, and the Queen of Wands. I feel like I couldn't have pulled better cards for this. So with the Ace of Coins, that's our reminder to be open to new opportunities, to be open to receiving new opportunities for love in our lives. It's about planting those seeds and really allowing it to bloom and to grow, knowing that sometimes love doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build that intimacy, to build that trust, but that it is 100% a worthwhile endeavor. And especially at times when the world feels dark, when you feel isolated or you feel alone, the Ace of Coins is your reminder that the potential is there. So even with all the chaos of this world, there is so much potential for planting new seeds of love, as cheesy as that might sound. With our Strength card, that is approaching both ourselves and others with that compassion, with that kindness, that forgiveness, and that grace. It's showing by example, leading with a gentle hand, because when we show up from a place of love in all areas of our life, we attract more of that into our life. We not only give ourselves the permission, but we give others to be loving as well. And no matter how much our inner lion has come out biting and roaring, we need to forgive ourselves and have the strength to allow ourselves to love and be loved. Because I think it's important to point out that sometimes love isn't easy, and sometimes we do have to let go and we have to accept. And that's a difficult part of love, but it's love all the same. And paired with that Ace of Pentacles, it is the strength to be open to that receivership. Then on the other side, we have our Queen of Wands, and it's the strength to be authentic, to show up as ourselves, to follow our passions and what lights us up from the inside, and in doing so, involve others in a sense of community. The Queen of Wands is that social butterfly, so it's the reminder that it's okay to love different groups and different types of people. Because when you show up authentically as you, when you don't apologize for loving the things that you love, you attract the right people into your life. So nurture that in yourself and in others. See people for who they are and the love that they give. Nothing more, nothing less. So I hope that resonates with you. I hope that makes your heart a little happy, because it definitely did mine. And if learning more about using the tarot for understanding and strengthening relationships is something that you want to do, make sure you join me on February 18th for my Tarot Lab Masterclass. Details are in the links below, but you can always find it at adrianamari.com. And as always, thank you so much for being here, for listening to me talk about tarot. If you ever have any questions or any topics you'd like to see covered, just reach out and let me know. If you're enjoying the podcast, it would be so helpful if you gave it a thumbs up, a good review, left a comment, and made sure you were following it wherever you love to listen. So wherever you are in your life, I hope that you have a wonderful Valentine's Day, Valentine's weekend, even if you're just celebrating the awesomeness of you. And tune in next week, where we're going to be talking about some of the scarier cards in the tarot. But until then, stay open, stay curious, and keep finding love in your life.